Hosea 1:2, an unfaithful spouse. The opening chapter of Hosea unveils a clear problem between God and his people. They had been unfaithful. God commanded Hosea to take a wife who would be unfaithful to him. Hosea and Gomer's ensuing relationship. Gomer problem? No. Anyway. They had been unfaithful. God commanded Hosea to take a wife who would be unfaithful to him. Hosea and Gomer's ensuing relationship symbolized the way the people of Israel had departed from God to pursue the Canaanites' false gods. Hosea was instructed to love Gomer despite his promiscuous actions and knowing she would continue to be unfaithful. Unfaithfulness is not just a character flaw reserved for the Israelites of the Old Testament. It is a problem for all of humanity. Sin, by definition, is forsaking God's way and going one's own way, resulting in a broken relationship between humans and God. This is the very foundation of why Jesus came. Isaiah 53:6 beautifully says it this way: we all, like sheep, have gone astray. Each of us has turned to our own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. With the heart of humanity bent on pursuing false gods or going our own way, all people would have been utterly lost and separated from God forever, if not for the pursuit of God, sending his Son to bring humanity back to himself. 1 Peter 3-18. Those who believe and follow Christ are invited into the perfect love Christ has for the church, his bride, for whom he gave his life. That's deep. Hosea, the word of the Lord that came to Hosea, son of Beeri, during the reigns of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah, and during the reign of Jeroboam, son of Jehoash, king of Israel. Hosea's wife and children. When the Lord began to speak through Hosea, the Lord said to him, go marry a promiscuous woman. Around here, that should be pretty easy. And have children with her. For like an adulterous wife, this land is guilty of unfaithfulness to the Lord. So he married Gomer, daughter of Diblam, and she conceived and bore him a son. Then the Lord said to Hosea, call him Jezreel, because I will soon punish the house of Jehu for the massacre at Jezreel, and I will put an end to the kingdom of Israel. In that day I will break Israel's bow to the valley of Jezreel. Gomer conceived again and gave birth to a daughter. Then the Lord said to Hosea, call her Lo-Ruhamah, which means not loved. For I will no longer show love to Israel, that I should at all forgive them. Yet I will show love to Judah, and I will save them, not by bow, sword, or battle, or by horses and horsemen, but I, the Lord their God, will save them. After all, she had weaned Lo-Ruhamah. Gomer had another son. Then the Lord said, call him Lo-Ammi, which means not my people. For you are not my people, and I am not your God. Pretty harsh. Yet the Israelites will be like the sand on the seashore, which cannot be measured or counted. In the place where it was said to them, you are not my people, they will be called children of the living God. The people of Judah and the people of Israel will come together. They will appoint one leader, and the people of Israel will come together. They will appoint one leader and will come up out of the land, for great will be the day of Jezreel. Say of your brothers, my people, and of your sisters, my loved one. Israel, punished and restored. Rebuke your mother, rebuke her, for she is not my wife, and I am not her husband. Let her remove the adulterous look from her face, and the unfaithfulness from between her breasts. Otherwise, I will strip her naked and make her as bare as on the day she was born. I will make her like a desert, turn her into a parched land, and slay her with thirst. I will not show my love to her children, because they are the children of adultery. So much for loving everyone. Their mother has been unfaithful and has conceived them in disgrace. She said, I will go after my lovers who give me my food and my water, my wool and my linen, my olive oil and my drink. Therefore I will block her path with thorn bushes. I will wall her in so that she cannot find her way. She will chase after her lovers, but will not catch them. She will look for them, but will not find them. Then she will say, I will go back to my husband as at first, for then I was better off than now. Hosea 1:9-10, an obedient son. In the Old Testament, God carefully outlined the blessings of obedience and the punishments that would follow in the wake of disobedience. Hosea 1:9 presents a living picture of this principle when God told Hosea to name one of his children Lo-Ami, meaning not my people. Though Israel was always in covenant relationship with God, their rebellion kept them from experiencing their rights and privileges as dearly loved children. Yet, even in their disobedience, God promised restoration. V10. Throughout all of Hosea, God is pictured as Israel's steadfast pursuer despite the nation's continued unfaithfulness and rebellion. The fullness of this illustration was not realized until the coming of Jesus, God's perfect son, the one who refused to rebel against his Father. Through his perfect obedience and sinless death, he would absorb the wrath rightfully incurred by God's disobedient son, Israel, as well as the whole world. Jesus came from God, and as John 1:1-2 notes, he was God and was with God in the beginning. Matthew 2:15 helps us to see Jesus' early exile in Egypt as an infant as the fulfillment of the prophecy from Hosea 11:1. When Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son. Matthew applies to Christ what Hosea spoke about the Israelites in Moses' time. Through his death and resurrection, Jesus made a way for the deliverance and restoration of the original children of God, the Jews, and of all those outside the nation of Israel as well. This salvation occurs for both groups by believing and trusting Jesus as Savior. Through faith, the promise of Hosea 1:10 applies to believers today. In the place where it was said to them, you are not my people, they will be called children of the living God. By trusting and believing in the Son, all people can become children of the living God. She has not acknowledged that I was the one who gave her the grain, the new wine and oil, who lavished on her the silver and gold, which they used for Baal. Therefore I will take away my grain when it ripens, and my new wine when it is ready. I will take back my wool and my linen, intended to cover her naked body. So now I will expose her lewdness. Before the eyes of her lovers, no one will take her out of my hands. I will stop all her celebrations, her yearly festivals, her new moons, her Sabbath days, all her appointed festivals. I will ruin her vines and her fig trees, which she said were her pay from her lovers. I will make them a thicket, and wild animals will devour them. I will punish her for the days she burned incense to the Baal. She decked herself with rings and jewelry, and went after her lovers, but me she forgot, declares the Lord. Therefore, I am now going to allure her. I will lead her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her. There I will give her back her vineyards. There I will give back her vineyards, and will make the valley of Achor a door of hope. There she will respond as in the days of her youth, as in the day she came up out of Egypt. In that day, declares the Lord, you will call me my husband. You will no longer call me my master. I will remove the names of the Baals from her lips. No longer will their names be invoked. In that day, I will make a covenant for them with the beasts of the field, the birds of the sky, and the creatures that move along the ground. Bow and sword and battle I will abolish from the land, so that all may lie down in safety. I will betroth you to me forever. I will betroth you in righteousness and justice, in love and compassion. I will betroth you in faithfulness, and you will acknowledge the Lord. In that day I will respond, declares the Lord. I will respond to the skies, and they will respond to the earth. And the earth will respond to the grain, the new wine, and the olive oil, and they will respond to Jezreel. Hosea 2:19 through 23, a divine love. Since names of the Old Testament often held great meaning and purpose, the people of Hosea's day would have recognized the special significance God intended when he instructed the prophet to name his children Jezreel, God scatters, Lo Ruhamah, not loved, and Lo Ami, not my people. 1:4-6-9. In Hosea's culture, unrepentant idolatry infected the land, and as symbolized by these names, Israel was poised to reap the consequences of their disobedience and waywardness. Yet, even as they experienced God's discipline, he indicated that his divine love and mercy would ultimately triumph over judgment. In fact, in Hosea 2:22, Jezreel is used in the reverse sense. God plants rather than God scatters. By pursuing and restoring Gomer to her rightful place as his wife, Hosea 3:1-3, Hosea paralleled, though imperfectly, God's unrelenting desire for fellowship with his people and the high price he was willing to pay to purchase his people back from their slavery to sin. Hosea highlighted not only God's original covenant with his people, but also his unending commitment that continued despite Israel's superficial claims to faithfulness. Carrying forward the theme of restoration, he reminded them that it is he alone who could provide comfort, companionship, fruitfulness, and the hope that they would eventually be called his people once again. Just as Hosea pursued an unfaithful wife, God pursues an unfaithful people, based solely in his own unchanging love, faithfulness, and forgiveness. Just as Hosea pursued an unfaithful wife, God pursues an unfaithful people, based solely in his own unchanging love, faithfulness, and glory. With the redemption plan of Jesus in play before the beginning of the world, Ephesians 1:4, God declared his intention even before people became aware of their need. Humanity was chosen as the unlikely recipient of unmerited favor and extravagant grace. While God's heart has always desired relationship with his people, the coming of Christ revealed the fullness of the promise. All people were once cut off from mercy and could not attain it through personal effort. But now all can possess it through faith in Jesus and stand in his righteousness. Pause. But not all those who say, "Oh Lord, oh Lord." Getting back to what I was reading. All people were once cut off from mercy and could not attain it through personal effort, but now all can possess it through faith in Jesus and stand in his righteousness, being fully redeemed by his blood. Ephesians 2:11-13. Fulfilling the prophecy of Hosea, Jesus alone makes it possible for all believers to be the mercy, lavish children of God. Paul wrote triumphantly, "Once you were not a people, but now you are the people of God. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy." 1 Peter 2:10. The people of God are loved by a divine love pictured most perfectly in Jesus, who would pursue all of humanity through his life, death, and resurrection. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's own life for one's friends. Ain't that right, Josh Lee? 7 felonies for that bag of weed. I forgive you. God forgives you. You're welcome. Peace and love. Amen.